Hey guys, welcome to Asphalt 9 regurgitated content. And by that I mean we're going to be ranking every single car in Asphalt 9 with a tier list. I know, how original, right? So you guys on stream requested that I do this sort of thing, and I agree, it's a good way to rank all the cars, and it's kind of a homage to the Asphalt 8 top 5 videos, but we're going to be going over not just 5 cars, but every single car in the game, and I will very clearly determine which ones are the best and which ones are the worst. And I'm sure you guys have seen a tier list style video from either iDubbbz or any subsequent parody of that video. This is, I guess, is a parody, Asphalt related, but without further ado, let's get straight into the tier list. No nonsense. Here we go. I created a tier list. If you guys want to make your own, there's a link in the description to make your own tier list. And it's kind of hard to see, but each car is in alphabetical order, and we've got ourselves 8 tiers ranging from S all the way to the undesired oof. It's worse than an F tier. And I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. So our first car here is the Acura NSX. The NSX is one of the top C-Class cars. It definitely deserves to be one. I'm going to put it in B tier, because I believe that car could be a little bit better with the handling and nitro duration, but otherwise it's a very solid car. Next we have the Apollo N, which is currently the top B-Class car to have, but it's got a big flaw with its handling and its nitro duration. You need to be very precise with this. It's high risk, high reward. I'm going to put it in C tier despite it being the king, just because it's not the easiest thing to drive, but it's not a horrible car. It's very good, and if you know how to drive it, you can get a very solid lap time with it. Next we got the Aston Martin DB11. I'm going to put this thing in... I'm thinking about D tier. I'm also thinking about E tier. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to put it in D tier just to be nice to it. And I'm going to turn on my mouse so that you guys can see this. There we go. Next we're going to go with the Aston Martin Vulcan. Again, also on the verge between D and E tier. I don't know, I think I'm going to put this car in D tier because it's got bad handling and okay acceleration, but it's a starter D car, so you can't really expect it to be, you know, an ultimate car. But it's definitely not one I would take out for a drive and not use in multiplayer. Next we got the BMW Homage, and like Asphalt 8, I'm going to put this car in E tier. Because I think, well, it's more representative of its real life form. It's just kind of useless, and there are much better cars you can go for than this one. Although it's not that bad to the point where it gets an F tier or an oof tier. Next we got the BMW M4 GTS, and I'm going to put this one in C tier. It's a step below the NSX, but it's still a good car. Next we got the BMW Z4, and I'm going to put this one in E tier. It's a low D-Class car. It doesn't have anything super significant, but it's not trash. Next we got the first big one, Bugatti Chiron. I'm going to put this one in A tier. I know you guys are thinking I'm going to put it in S tier because it's like the king of the game, but I think its only like bad thing is just its momentum. It's one of the easier cars to control in terms of momentum, but it just doesn't feel silky smooth to drive like some other cars. And I'll cover exactly what I mean by when we get to it. Alright, next one, Cadillac CN Concept. This is an oof tier for me. This car is horrible. It's got great top speed, and that's it. They nerfed the handling, which is something it did not need, and it's pretty hard to win races in this thing. I'd say it's on the cusp between oof tier and F tier, but in its current state with the nerf, it's an oof tier for me. Next we got the Chevrolet Camaro LT. I'm going to put this thing in C tier because it's a very good car despite being probably the third car you'll unlock in the game. When you upgrade this thing, it is really surprisingly good, and it's the best of the starter cars you can get until you get to the high D cars. Next we get the Camaro ZL1, and I'm going to put this one in... Ooh, I'm also unsure on what to put this in. I'm going to say, just because I haven't maxed this thing out and this thing is useless to me, I'm going to put it in E tier, because it's not really used at all. and its performance is just okay. You guys are probably going to scream at me saying it deserves at least the D tier, but this is just my opinion. If you want your own tier list, you can make your own, link in the description. Alright, next we got the Corvette Grand Sport. And I think I'm going to give this somewhere between B and A. I want to say A, but it's missing just the top speed. That's it. It's missing top speed. So maybe I'll put it in... Okay, I'll put it in B tier for now. I think that's where I'm going to settle it. A and S tier for only the best stuff. And the Corvette is missing its top speed, and that's what's holding it back. Next we got the Scat Pack, and I'm also going to put this car in D tier. Even with the nerf, it is still a solid D class car to own. It's a must-have for anyone's garage. Next oof tier, now I've already spoiled this, is the Dodge Challenger SRT8. This also got a nerf that it did not need, and it has already the disadvantage of being a starter D class car, or C class car I meant. But it performs like a D class car. It's just trash right now. I don't know if they'll ever buff it back to its original state, but that's something you could definitely pass on. Next we got the Dodge Viper ACR, and I'm going to put this one in C tier, because it's missing top speed. It's a good car, but I'd say they're a better alternative for C class, although it's definitely one not to be ignored, and that's why I put it in C tier. I think if your car is C tier, that's one you should have in your garage and not ignore it. Anything below it is an iffy, and then the oof tiers are... Oh wait, that was the GTS. Okay, first mistake of the video is the Viper GTS, but you know what? I'm still going to leave it in C tier because it's decent. Of the starter 8 cars, I'd say that's the best one. Maybe the GTR Nismo, but you need upgrades for that one to start doing stuff. Alright, so here's the Viper ACR. That one's going in C tier. I've already explained why, but I just mixed up the two Dodge Vipers. So rip me, but we're already 7 minutes in the video, so I'm not restarting. Next we got the DSE tents, and I'm going to put this one in D tier. Because, again, it's missing top speed, but it's not horrible, but I'd say the Camaro is a better car for D class. Next we got the W70 Exotic Rides, and I'm going to put this one in C tier. It's probably the best starter B car, and I think nobody will disagree with that. It's got solid acceleration, a little bit low on the top speed again, but it's a very good car, and you should not ignore that one. Next we got the Ferrari 488 GTB, and I'm also going to put this one in C tier, because it's missing handling. It's got decent acceleration, decent top speed, decent nitro duration, but its handling could be a little bit better, especially it's a Ferrari. It deserves a little bit better performance, but I understand that there are better alternatives to this car, but it's still very good, and I would not ignore this one. Next we got the Ferrari F12 TDF, and I'm going to put this one in A tier. Despite its handling disadvantage, this is a very solid car to drive. Its nitration is just pretty much endless, and its top speed is great. The only thing I wish it had was a bit more handling. And I don't know, I feel like if I'm putting the F12 in A tier, I should put the Corvette in A tier as well. But just know that the Corvette's on the cusp. I guess the F12 will be on lower A. Next we got, I think that's the FXXK? Yeah, it is. I'm going to put this one in C tier, because it got great acceleration. Handling is a bit rough, and it's a bit glitchy on some tracks, but you kind of get that with all the S-Class cars, although that one, I'd say, is a bit more glitchy. Otherwise, it's a solid car, and it's good for starting out in S-Class. Next, we got the Ferrari J50, and this is going to be our first F tier. Honestly, there's no use in getting this car. It's, of the starter A-Class cars, it's the most rare one, and it's just kind of trash. And, I wouldn't put it in an oof tier because there's nothing significant about this car that just makes it like the bottom of the barrel, but it's not something you should be going for, and it's only really if you're an avid Ferrari fan. But even me as an avid Ferrari fan, I don't care for this car. Next we got the LaFerrari, and I'm going to put this one in C tier, because at first it's going to be bad when you have it at 1 star, but once you get it to 5 stars, it's pretty decent, although I'd say of the mid-A cars, it's not the best one. But it's there. Alright, first controversial pick. Ford GT. F tier. I know. You guys are going to get really angry at me for putting that in F tier, but please understand why. Pre-patch, I'd put this in like C tier with the 488 GTB. But post-patch, where they destroyed the handling of this car, it's almost undrivable at a competitive state. which is really sad because I love this car aesthetically, and pre-patch it was awesome to drive. It had amazing top speed. It still has great top speed, but its handling is so bad that you can barely get it up to speed, and its nitro duration doesn't help either. So with that, I'm putting it in F tier. Sorry. Next, we got the Shelby GT500, and Jerem's gonna be mad at me, but I'm gonna put this in C tier. I'd say the Scat Pack is a better car. I know, yes, objectively, the Shelby has a higher rank. It's got 4-star potential. But I think the Scat Pack is a bit easier to manage than the Shelby, and the Scat Pack has a little bit higher of a top speed. So I'll give it that advantage. I'd say the Shelby's not a bad car, so that's why I'm putting it in C tier. Next, we get the Icona Volcano, and this one's gonna go in C tier, just with the FXXK. I'll put it next to there, actually. For similar reasons, it can be quite buggy, but pre-patch I'd put it in B tier, but post-patch they destroyed a little bit of its handling, and I think a little bit of acceleration too. It's not a bad car, but it's not as good as it used to be, but I'm still going to put it in C tier, because it's still decent for starting S-Class. Next, we'll get the Jaguar F-Type SVR, and I'm going to put this in F tier. I would normally put this in OOF tier, but at 4 stars, it could actually be not bad to drive, but it's still something you shouldn't focus on, especially when you have something like the Porsche 911 and the W70. Those are much better alternatives than the F-Type SVR. It's a long video, we're already at 11 minutes. We might need to do stages of this. Hang in there though. Alright, another big one. We got the Koenigsegg Regera. This is on the cusp of C and B tier. And I'm going to put it on B tier because its top speed is awesome. But it's so hard to get this car up to full speed. And I don't know, I think the Chiron is a much better car. The only thing Koenigsegg has over the Chiron is its top speed. And for that, that's why I'm putting it in B tier. It's still a solid S-Class car, but it's nowhere near the best. Next, we got the Asterion, and I'm going to put this one next to the 488 in C tier. This car has great acceleration, but its top speed has a little bit to be desired. It's like a buffed W70, but more expensive. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Next, we get the Aventador J, and I don't have this fully upgraded, but from what I've heard, it's decent, and just on that assumption alone, I'm going to put it on B tier. At 3 stars, this car is pretty good, but I've heard it's actually quite a beast, so I'm going to put it in B tier. Unfortunately, this car is really expensive, so it's not something you should be able to just pick up in one day, which is a shame. I don't have the car in full potential, so I don't know how good it is, but I'm going to put it at a safe B tier from what I've heard. Next, we got the Aventador SV, and I think it deserves to be right next to the LaFerrari in C tier. Because, just like the LaFerrari, it's kind of bad at 1 star, but then once you get it up to 5 stars, it really opens up. But still, compared to the Aventador J, is much better. The SV has a handling issue. That's about it. I'd still put it in C tier. You notice that we're kind of getting a semi-normal distribution curve here. And that's pretty much for most of the car list. Next, we get the Centenario, and I know some of you guys are going to hate me for this, but I'm going to put it in D tier. Because I think the Centenario is objectively a bad car. It's got bad handling, bad nitro, management. Actually, its nitration is not horrible. Its acceleration has something to be desired, and its top speed's not great. But it's a starter S-Class car, so I have to give it that benefit of the doubt, but it deserves a D tier. Especially if you have the FXXK and the Icona in C. Centenario has to be a step down. Next, we get the Egoista, and here's what I was talking about on what the Chiron doesn't have. This car is what I really would like it to be. I'm going to put it in B tier, because, again, it's missing top speed. If this car had the top speed of the Chiron, I would put this in probably S tier. It is so good to drive, except for the top speed. Only it had the top speed, it could have a much higher rank, but I'd say that thing's a joy to drive. You should definitely not ignore that one, although it could be maybe a little bit useless for you. But otherwise, besides top speed, it's a very solid car to drive. Next, we got the Huracan Spider, and I'm going to put this right next to the Apollo in C tier. Because it has similar issue to the Apollo, where it has a great top speed, although the Huracan has great acceleration and handling, but it lacks in top speed and nitro duration. Although, I think the Huracan upgraded has a little bit better of a nitro duration. But aside that, it's got flaws. And I'm still going to put the Corvette above it because the Corvette overall is a better car in the game. Just by driving. But I think the Huracan should be stuck at C tier. Next we get the Terzo, and I'm going to put this with its buddy Centenario in D tier. And you guys might be like, wait, what? They just released this. Here's the thing, the Terzo's top speed is pretty low for what it's competing with. Only does around 400 km or 250 miles an hour. Its handling's pretty bad, its acceleration's just okay, it loses speed really easy. And its nitration has a lot to be desired. It's just a car that could have been much better than what it is, and unfortunately I've put it in D tier. I wouldn't put it in E or F, but I would put it in D tier. Next we got the Lotus Elise. And I'm going to put this one in C tier next to the Shelby. Because I think this car has great acceleration, handling, nitration, but its top speed, again, I keep saying this a lot, but it's true for a lot of Asphalt 9's cars. Top speed is lacking by a lot this time. Lotus Elise has really low top speed. The Camaro was faster in terms of top speed, if that paints a picture. But still, the rest of its performance warrants a C tier for me. Next we got the Evora. And I don't know, this thing's on the cusp between C and D tier. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and put it in C tier because it's an easy car to unlock. And it's cheap. It's a decent performing car, but that's pretty much it. A decent performance. Next we got the Maserati Alfieri, and I'm going to put this in F tier. At 1 star, this is an obvious oof tier. But at 4 stars, it was the king of the game for C class. But it's still objectively a bad car with bad handling and acceleration. I'm going to put it in F tier at that. Be mad, create your own tar list if you disagree with me. Next we got the 570S Spider. I know Fiorem likes this car. I like its looks, but I'm going to put this in C tier. Because it's really expensive. Its top speed is absurdly high, but its acceleration handling is missing. So with that, I'm going to put it at C tier. If it had better acceleration handling, I'd put it probably in B or A. But the only thing it's got going is the top speed. Otherwise, it's stupid, expensive, useless. McLaren P1, on the other hand, I'm going to give it a B tier. A step above the LaFerrari. And this is going to please, if you're really old in the channel, some of the McLaren P1 fanboys, but objectively, this car has good acceleration. It's like a LaFerrari, but it has better acceleration. It's got a little bit sacrifice in the nitration department, but otherwise it's a very solid car. But it's a mid-tier A car, so that's why I'm going to put it in B class. Or B tier, whatever. Next we got the Mercedes AMG GTS. I'm going to put this in C tier. There's no question about it. We've driven this a lot in the weekly tournaments. It's got good top speed, but everything else has a little bit to be desired in terms of handling and nitro. So, the handling was a little bit better. I understand it's a big, heavy Mercedes, so it's a bit realistic in that sense, but I'd put it in C tier, where the BMW M4 is. Next we get the Lancer Evo, and I'm going to put this car in E tier, with the Z4. Because it's the first car you unlock, but its nitration is actually pretty good. Otherwise the rest of the car is kind of meh. The Elise is like a Lancer Evo on crack, and I'm going to put the Lancer in E tier. But I think that's fair for the Evo. Next oof tier is the 370Z Nismo. I know you're going to piss off your Nissan fans, but really the car is just bad. It starts off bad, and you're better off using the Camaro. Z just has bad acceleration, handling, and nitro duration, and top speed has a lot to be desired as well. So I'm going to keep that in oof tier. Unless that thing gets a buff, an oof tier for me. Next we got the GTR Nismo, and I'm going to put this car in C tier with the Dodge Viper GTS. Because the GTR has great acceleration, top speed again is lacking, but that's kind of expected with this track-focused car. I'd say it's a step above the Vulcan, but not as good as the Viper GTS, but in the same league. So I'm going to keep it in C tier, I think that's fair. Next we got the Fire BC. I'm going to put this car in B tier, because it's got some acceleration issues. Its handling could be better, but its top speed and nitro duration are fantastic. And it's the top A-class car right now. So I'm going to keep it at that. Maybe I'm being a little bit unfair and I should put it in A tier. But that's just my opinion. Next we got the Pininfarina H2 Speed. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is a B tier car, very obviously. They buffed this car a couple months ago, and this thing is awesome to drive. It's got great handling, great nitro duration, great acceleration. Top speed's decent. It's one of the top C-Class cars. It's definitely something you should have in your garage. You can unlock it in the career and the daily events. It's definitely something to go for. Next we got the Porsche 718 Boxster, and this car doesn't get enough love because it's one of the most ignored and forgettable cars, like, ever. And I'm gonna put this in D tier because I don't really know how to form an opinion on it. I've only driven it a couple times. I've never even upgraded it. That's how useless it is. And from the times I've driven it at 1 star, well, not 1 star, technically 4 star, but I never upgraded it, so treat it as 1 star. It's just okay. I'd put it below the Shelby, but above like the low tier D-Class cars, and that's where it sits in D tier. Next we got the Porsche 911, and I'm gonna put this in D tier with the DB11. It's a good car, and it's on the cusp between D and C. So with that, I'm gonna put it at D car, but it's the first car you get in B class, so have to cut it some slack there, but I think I'll leave it at D tier. Porsche 918. No questions asked. Fight me. Best car in the game. Bar none. Rezvani Beast. It's going in B tier. Same case as the H2, although the Rezvani has so much better acceleration, but it sacrifices top speed. So that balances it out. Everything else is pretty solid with this car. I'm going to put it in B tier with the NSX. It could be king if it had better top speed, but it's a pretty solid car anyway, so it gets a B tier from me. Next we got the SCG, and this one has been nerfed, so I'm going to put it in C tier with the 488. If it was pre-patch, I'd put it in probably A tier, honestly. But they nerfed its nitro duration and its handling, which is pretty sad. And now the car is just okay, but it's destroyed by the F12. So I'm going to keep it in C tier unless they buff it again. Now we got the Sin R1. I'm going to put this in... I don't know if I should put this in D tier or E tier. I think I'm going to put it in D tier. Because it's pretty slow. It takes a while to get up to top speed, but its nitro duration's not bad. And it's just destroyed by the other top B cars. So I'm just going to leave it at D tier because it's not horrible, but it's not great. Try Nemesis. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know if I should put it in C or B tier. But I think, looking at where the Regera stands, I'm going to put this thing in C tier. And I'd say it's on the cusp of C and B, because its top speed is something like magical. But everything else about the car is pretty iffy, and you need to be an insanely skilled driver to be able to do a fast lap with the Tryon. Not the Asphalt 8 variant, so I'm going to have to leave it in C tier, and I'm sure if you've driven the car, you'd agree with me. Nitro duration, the worst in the game. And its handling acceleration is unique, but it's not like the Chiron. Next we get the Fence tier, and I'm going to put this in B tier with the other C-Class cars. Because at the start the Venture's pretty bad, but it's the current C-Class king. Top speed is extremely good, the best in class. But everything else it has is a disadvantage, and I'm going to keep it in B tier for that reason. Next we get the VLF, and I'm going to put this in A tier. It's like a mini 918, although it's got a little bit better top speed. And it's just as competitive as the 19, but I'd say the VLF needs a little bit more elbow grease to get around corners. Handling could be better, and its nitro duration's not the best. But it's still a very solid A-Class car, and you need to get this in your garage. Next is the Volkswagen XL. I'm going to put this in D tier. With the DSE tents, it's an okay car, good top speed, but otherwise it's not most fantastic car in the game. I would go for the Camaro or one of the higher up D cars. The Scat Pack is the best 3-star D car you can get. Alright. To end the long video, we got the W Motors Fenner. I'm going to put this one in B tier. Because it's not as good as the Chiron, but it is a very decent car, and I put it on par with the Regera. It's definitely the most unlockable one of the top S cars, but it still has a lot to be desired. And to end off our last car, the W Motors Lycan, I'm going to put it in B tier as well. That's because of the starter S-Class cars, the Lycan is the best one. It's got Very good handling, very good top speed. Nitrogen's great. Acceleration could be a little bit better, but for a starter S-Class car, it's definitely the best of the 4 that you get in those packs. And that is the Asphalt 9 tier list. Let's see if I can zoom this in a little bit. There you go. So that is it. Hopefully you guys understand my opinion, but that's exactly it. This is an opinion. If you have your own opinion on the car ranks, link in the description to make your own tier list. And see how it looks in mine. We got a pretty normal distribution. Obviously, a lot of cars were C capable, but there are a handful of really good ones. And you guys should have expected this coming from me about the 918, but fight me about that one. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this regurgitated content. I know it's been a long video, but I wanted to make it more than just some copy-paste, effortless video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the GIF in the corner. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you guys in a later stream or video, whatever comes first. Bye-bye!